It's Chris Stigall.
I think it is up to, and it's important for Congress, because we know not to play politics with this, not to play games, to find a way to raise that debt limit.
That's right. 10 past 7 on the new Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. 855-839-1210. And Bob Gibbs last week raised that debt ceiling. The Obama administration says if we don't, disaster looms. Full faith and credit of the United States damaged forever. First default in American history, caused by pure insanity. Thrilled to have one of the truly, purely insane newly elected to the United States Senate. From the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it's Senator Pat Toomey. Hey, Senator, welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're crazy. You're a lunatic. What you've written today?
Kind of have me on the show, considering the lunacy that's been ascribed to
well,
guys like me.
I can't believe the Wall Street Journal allows such a lunatic their editorial page this morning.
Yeah, well, they occasionally have these lapses, huh?
Now, here's what you wrote this morning. How to freeze the debt ceiling without risking default. Now, you take to task the administration on this very point, and I haven't read or seen anyone in Congress make the statement you made this morning, and I would love to discuss this with you.
Sure.
You say, in fact, if Congress refuses to raise the debt ceiling, the federal government will still have far more than enough money to fully service our debt. You're the first guy I've heard say that. Can you explain?
Sure. It's a fact. And the reason I say that is because if you take all the federal government spending, everything we spend money on, the projected numbers for next year, about 6% of all of the projected spending is for debt service. That's what it comes out to. If we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're still going to collect taxes. And the tax collections will cover about almost 70%, or at least 65% of all of the expenditures. Now, we wouldn't be able to go out and borrow the rest. The other, 35 or 30%, we wouldn't be able to borrow. But any way you look at it, tax revenue will be more than 10 times the amount of interest we owe on our debt next year. So it drives me crazy when someone says, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're going to default on our debt, on our existing debt. That's ridiculous.
But of course,
we're going to have more than enough tax revenue to pay our debt service.
Senator Pat Toomey with us on the new Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Of course, the other key component to this, right, is reduction in spending, outflows, right? You got to have it.
So gets to my point. So number one, let's just all of us agree with the fact that there's no financial crisis, there's no default on debt, there's no meltdown the way some in the administration and elsewhere are trying to imply if we don't raise the debt ceiling. Those things don't happen. Mind you, it is very disruptive. If you lose 30% of your expenditures, that's very disruptive. But what I'm saying, though, is the most irresponsible thing in the world to do is just raise the debt ceiling and keep going about business as usual, where we just keep spending ever more money, running ever bigger deficits, and just creating this debt that's unsustainable. So instead, right now, the administration desperately wants this debt ceiling to be raised. And so what I'm saying is we should not do it unless we get, at the same time, real actual cuts in spending and process reform that will allow us to get to a balanced budget. We need to have those things as part of a package, or we shouldn't raise the debt ceiling.
This Reuters poll, CBS had a similar poll. I know you're familiar with it. 71% of the country, according to the Reuters survey, agree with you here. They don't want to see the debt ceiling raised. Where do people see the potential for enough cuts to avoid further borrowing? Results are somewhat surprising and a little contradictory, says Reuters, as they look at their own results. 24% said cuts in education need to happen. Over half say cuts in the military. Near half environmental legislation. Over half say financial regulation enforcement. Foreign aid is the biggest here at 73%. Cut that. Tax collection efforts, the IRS, cut them. It gets dicey though when you start talking about Social Security and Medicare. Only 20% of the respondents roughly say cut those things. So that's the question with what polls well. Let's not increase our debt ceiling. Let's not raise that. Let's cut spending. Right. There too is the pitfall for guys like you to come out and say, well, okay, kids, if you really want to do this, buckle up. It's going to have to get ugly.
Well, I don't think it has to get ugly, really. I think what we've got to do is it's a couple of things. First of all, in the last few years, the massive run-up in spending has all been discretionary spending. It's not been Social Security, Medicare, those programs in the last few years. It's been bailouts and stimulus spending and taking our transfer payments and just blowing them up. We've got to cut that way back. It never should have happened in the first place. You can't extend it from here. See, one of the things that happens is in Congress, they automatically assume that whatever you spent last year has to grow this year, including if, by the way, last year you doubled an account somewhere. Well, it's just there's a new baseline is what they call it. Whatever you spent last year becomes the baseline on which you grow. Well, that's just ridiculous. We got to throw that nonsense out. We got to cut way back. The other thing is we got to look at all kinds of duplication of programs. You know, we found something like 65 different programs throughout various agencies of the government that subsidize students' foreign travel.
Wow.
I mean, come on.
Well,
this is just ridiculous.
And Senator, when you think of this is part and parcel of the health care debate, is it not? Because Obamacare, as it's written currently, calls for thousands of new government bureaucrats to run around the country making sure everyone has insurance.
And it's going to be enormously costly because it's already starting to happen. Employers are going to be dropping coverage. They're going to drop the people that lose their employer-based coverage are going to go on to a government plan that's heavily subsidized, and that's going to be massively expensive. Repealing Obamacare would be one of the best things we could do for our fiscal outlook. But long-term, we do need to look at the entitlement programs. You don't just make cuts. I think you make reforms. You make some changes that give people some opportunities, change the way they're structured. For instance, with Medicaid, if you gave that money to the states and let the states decide how to implement their programs instead of what we do now, I mean, we've got some states that allow people to participate in Medicaid who have incomes that are 400% of the poverty level, which is, for a family of four, that gets you up to like $80-some thousand a year. Well, guess what? That's not health care for poor people anymore.
Right.
That's just a middle-class entitlement.
Senator Pat, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
I'm just saying, if a state wants to do that, God bless them, you go ahead and do it. But you take care of raising the taxes for it. Don't make it the federal government's problem. We can't afford it.
Senator Pat Toomey with us on the new Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Colburn, Senator Colburn, your colleague on the Republican side from Oklahoma, said this Sunday that unless he saw a specific number of cuts made, he said he'd vote to raise the debt ceiling, but before he did it, he wanted to see a specific number of cuts agreed upon out there. Now, are you saying without question you will not vote to raise the debt ceiling no matter what?
No, if you look at the essay that I have in today's Wall Street Journal, I say very clearly that I will vote to raise the debt ceiling, but only if we take the steps to get us on a sustainable fiscal path, and that needs to include immediate cuts in spending, significant immediate cuts in spending, and changes in the process, the way that we go about this, because the process is designed to accelerate spending. So I need to see progress on both of those fronts. I have a number of specific ideas. We're in the process of trying to find a consensus among some of my colleagues, my freshman members of the Senate, some others, to see if we can reach an agreement on just what those cuts will be and what those reforms will be. But we need to have both, in my mind, or it would just be irresponsible to raise the debt ceiling.
A little out of left field question for you. Maybe you haven't had time to review it. Do you have any opinion one way or the other on the news yesterday that the FCC approved and going forward now with the NBC Comcast merger? Comcast, of course, here in Philly. I wondered if you had any opinion one way or the other. I know.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do. I think it's a good thing. I think the FCC should have approved it, and they did, and I'm glad they did. It was a long, painful process, but we got there. I just think that we're much better if the government doesn't try to dictate outcomes and control the telecommunications, the internet, this whole category of industries that provide us with information and entertainment and services that we value very much. This is going to be great for Philadelphia. It's going to be great for Pennsylvania. I think it's going to be good for the industry. So I'm glad they approved it.
And I know you just got back from Afghanistan. I'd love to have you back so that we could spend the whole segment talking just about what you've seen on the ground there. We're a little short on time this morning, but of course the debt ceiling looms large, as does Obamacare on the House side. We'll continue to watch it. We'd love to have you back, Senator.
Well, I'd love to come back, and I appreciate you having me on today.
It's Senator Pat Toomey at 719 855-8392.